But just for a quick review, essentially, Arlen believes that Ricky Pearsall is worth all of your Dynasty rookie picks in any given year. Just want to call that out.
Yeah, for sure. Plus Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, Pearsall and Burden. I just wanted to put that out there in plain language for everyone that didn't follow along the train of thought.
Yeah.
All of your
somebody
picks,
else
any given
did
year,
something.
Pearsall.
Welcome into another episode of Live Good Dynasty. I'm Arlen Love. I got Nate with me. How you doing, Nate?
Yo, I'm doing real good going into this week because we get to talk about even more running backs, and it's our favorite thing to talk about, right?
Yeah, we have no hate for running backs, but we definitely see the value of wide receivers in Dynasty. But the last episode was number 10 through 6 of our top 10 running backs. And then as a recap, we had Jonathan Brooks for myself as 10, Kyron Williams for Nate, Isaiah Pacheco as number 9, Kenneth Walker number 9 for Nate, Devon Achane for myself and for Nate, and then I had Kyron Williams at 7. ETN was number 6 or 7 for Nate and 6 for myself, and then Saquon Barkley was number 6 for Nate there. And then so we'll go through 5 through 1. We had a kind of a teaser that the first 3 of them are matching. And then before that, though, we're going to jump into our My Guy. So our My Guy vet for each of us was Nico for myself, as well as Frymuth for Nate. And then today we're going to be looking at our rookie picks there, like these players that we really love, that we want on our teams, that we are putting our kind of unofficial stamp on and have full rights to make a change before the season starts, but after that we'll make sure it's locked in. And mine has some controversy surrounding it, but one, I appreciate everybody for jumping in and commenting when you do. We like the conversation there. We have committed to every comment that comes in. We're reaching back out, and we're having that conversation, that dialogue. So we really appreciate that more than anything. But as always, what really helps the channel is just giving that thumbs up, that like, subscribing, so that you know when we drop some new stuff, and continuing that connection and community. But Nate, I think you kind of ended the last one with a little bit of a teaser last week, and now we get to have so much fun talking about it. Something I'm embarrassed about, but also I stand by and not regretting.
Yeah, so it's been no secret in this podcast and in every league that I've ever played Arlen in, which has been going on for the better part of 4 or 5 years now. Maybe I don't even know how long have we played together for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since day one, you have been someone as I refer to as my test trading buddy. Someone sends out 1 million trades a minute. I think at any given time you could have 10 trades out there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been some interesting ones that have come through very recently, and I would love for you to talk about that because you believe in your guy so much that you did something crazy and kind of gave away the farm to go get him. And I will give you credit is that this was I won't say well thought out, but it was a very clearly thought out process for you. I don't know if it was well thought out or not, but essentially what we're talking about here, for you to go grab your guy, you essentially gave away all of your 2027 picks. That's round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5. Now this is future use problem. I don't doubt that you'll get some of those picks back and get back into the drafts. But as of right now, in today's world, in our Dynasty League, Arlen has 0 draft picks over the next 3 years going into 2027.
Mm-hmm.
You did all of this to go grab Keon Coleman, who is not your guy, but you grabbed Keon Coleman so that you would have him as a part of a trade that you would later utilize to go get your guy. So walk me through what you were thinking and tell us who your guy is so that we can fully understand what goes on in the brain of Mr. Arlen Love to go get his guy.
So the guy that I we actually had audio issues our episode 1, and we each picked one player that we really were smitten with, and somebody who we really believed in. And I was hoping he wouldn't go too high because I wanted to be able to draft him late. Ricky Pearsall is that player, and he actually surprised me, the 49ers, in picking him up in the first. So that's the person I feel like him and another player that I got in the trade, Burton. Both of those I think are, in my opinion, are number 4 and 5 in quality and skill of this year's rookie wide receivers. So I was trying to trade for those two for a while, and I offered McLaughlin, Bo Melton, Charlie Jones, Frank Gore, and all of my 2027 picks, like you mentioned, and the person still would not budge. So sometimes when you're trading, I feel like if you trade a lot, and if you're okay with just the game, you like trading, sometimes you trade to trade. So I realized that the names that I had didn't match what. And Jameson Williams was also in that offer, and he said no. Like, I couldn't believe that he passed it up, and I was overpaying like crazy. And so sometimes the names just need to change. If you're paying way over value, if you're overpaying and it's still not getting done, change the names. So that's what I did. I did Bo Melton, Charlie Jones, Frank Gore, and my 2027 picks for Keon Coleman. And I don't believe in Keon Coleman. I hope he works out because I love the guy. He's a great guy. He seems like he's a great guy, and it would be really fun to see him succeed. But I just have too many worries, and I feel like either Higgins or Ayuk or Debo is going to get traded at some point, or next year go to Buffalo, and that's my biggest fear with Coleman. So I then offered Coleman and Jameson Williams to get Burton and my guy Pearsall. So that I ended up paying. Call me dumb. I know it's overpayment. I don't think that in a year, this is my bet, is that in a year I don't think it's an overpayment, and in a year I don't think that person would have traded it to me if anything is validated at all. So I needed to get it done before it's validated or any of the players on either team leave. So it is too much, but I kept McLaughlin by doing the extra trade. I kept one player of that, and I'm weak on running back, so I needed to keep somebody. So I think that's it. But for me, Pearsall is he's a really strong player. That he was better than where he was being drafted in the actual NFL mock drafts, and I felt like there was something missing there. Didn't understand why more teams didn't like him, and it turns out they did. And he seems like a great replacement specifically for Debo. But I think whichever of those leave, and I think either Ayuk or Debo will end up leaving. And right now, Ayuk is having this week some contract negotiation problems. So I think it's possible one of them leave. But I don't think they'll leave this year. I think next year is really what I'm looking at. And this year I'll look dumb. And that's okay with me. But in terms of the other two people that I actually drafted, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors, this is why I have no picks left. He came very close to the success rate versus zone of Marvin Harrison Jr., and he actually was better than Neighbors in success rate versus man. He's a solid NFL player that I think Ayuk is a better number 2 than Pearsall is, and how I feel is that Pearsall will end up being the number 1 or 1B for the 49ers, and I feel that Burton will be a strong number 2 who was drafted in the 3rd round and is and I'm only adding him this to not my guy, but just to validate my feelings in this trade. But Burton, I feel like, was a 1st round talent, and a lot of people are saying that, right? And he had that, but he had off the field issues. People thought he'd go later. Cincinnati has problems with Higgins, and franchise tagged him. He doesn't want to be there anymore. They don't want to pay him, at least. So I think that Burton, we got maybe a strong number 2 behind Chase, who I have on my team. So it backs it up, but also gives me somebody else. Pearsall, I think, is an incredible go-get for this year, and I declare him as my guy. That was a long-winded, but I felt like I really needed to explain myself after people heard what I did.
Yeah. And just for review, everybody, you'll see the trades right here. I'll put them here for everyone to review and for you to fully chastise or buy into what Arlen did to get him. But just for a quick review, essentially, Arlen believes that Ricky Pearsall is worth all of your dynasty rookie picks in any given year. Just want to call that out.
Yeah, for sure. Plus Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, Pearsall and Burton. I just wanted to put that out there in plain language for everyone that didn't follow along the train of thought.
Yeah.
All
somebody else did something quote unquote. Somebody else here did something quote unquote stupid, but I don't hate what you did. You got your guy at number 4 overall in our draft. Tell us, and you've said it plenty of times, but is there anything else you want to add as you declare Ladd McConkey your guy?
Yeah. So yeah, this was pretty dumb. I might have been a victim of having too many picks in the first round. We talked about this a little bit and how we'd attack our picks if we had a ton of picks in the first round. But I fully believe in what I did. But it, like Arlen said, it may prove me dumb down the line. But my guy, no surprise here, Ladd McConkey. I've talked about him quite a ton, so not a ton to add here. I just fully believe that he is going to be in the run to have the highest amount of target or of receptions and targets for all rookies across the board, even if he doesn't match talent-wise. Obviously, I'm not saying he's more talented than Marvin Harrison or Neighbors or Dunze, but I just think the opportunity is there over the next few years for him to be the guy, just a possession receiver, someone that can be in there, someone that also has the ability to be an X receiver if he needs to be. He can do a lot of things, and his ability to run routes. I'm not saying he's the next second coming of Keenan Allen and how he runs routes and what he's talented at doing, but he has the potential to be there and just be a target hog, especially in an offense that isn't going to throw the ball a ton, but when they do, they need someone there that's going to be consistent. And the names that you have that are left after everyone's kind of departed from the Chargers isn't anything to be impressed by. Right. So we're not worried about Quentin Johnson. We're not worried about Josh Palmer. We're not worried about Donald Parham. DJ Shark has come into play as well, but there's no one there that you're worried about. And so it's Ladd's target share to lose. And I just think he right out the gate in year 1 is going to be at least wide receiver 2 viable for your teams. And it's someone that for your redrafts you're going to be able to get much, much, much later.
Yeah, and I think the reports out of camp have been outstanding. He got paid really well with his contract, and I think that the reports match the money that it's not coach speak when the money matches. So I think that you believed in a player a lot, and you picked him where you felt like he should be, and you wouldn't have gotten him with your next pick. So I think everything that you did was just fine. And it's a great pick as your guy. And I'm excited to see him fail so I can judge you and say that I never believed in it. But I do actually believe in it, I guess. I think it's a really good pick. But the next piece up, though, we've got our top 5. We're going to go through them a little faster than we did last week because there's less question marks, honestly, on these guys. And we know that these guys are good. And a lot of them we really agree on. Every player we agree on, and there's only one slight switch. For number 1 and 2, we have a different piece. So we'll move them pretty fast. But these are our top 5 running backs. If you want to look through 10 through 6, as I mentioned, I read them off earlier, and you can look at next week if you want our reasoning behind them, or if you find that somebody's missing here, you can see why they're missing and what our argument here was. So number 5, let's jump right into it. Number 5, we both have Jonathan Taylor. Why do you hate Jonathan Taylor to put him all the way down at number 5? No, why is he on your top 5 on a position as important yearly as running back is?
All right, so Jonathan Taylor, just a touchdown animal, right? A touchdown machine. He's competing for touches against guys like Evan Hull, who I think might be sneaky down the line as someone that could carry a lot. He showed that he can carry the ball when Jonathan Taylor's out of the game, but he's not competing for the JT's touches this year, right? So he extended through 2026. He averaged 188 yards, or he had 108 yards in his last game last year. And the one caveat, the one reason I'd have him as low as number 5 is we haven't seen him play really with Anthony Richardson yet.
Okay.
right? He had a few games out there. Actually, they didn't play together last year, right? Or did they play? I don't think they played together last year.
I can't say for sure. He only had a couple games. I don't know if he was back yet.
Right.
From you might be right. He might not have.
We know Anthony Richardson's at least going to steal some of that yardage away, right? I don't think he's going to take the goal line work away, but at least some of that yardage, some of that that runability that Anthony Richardson has. He's like a video game out there. So it's like watching him play the way that he does, and that's going to take away from some of what JT does. But I mean, you can't question him being in your top 5 for sure. So number 5 spot for me. You have him there too. Anything you would add?
They played together for 1 week. It was the worst week that he's had in his career, almost. Jonathan Taylor. But to be fair, That was also Jonathan Taylor's first week back, and he only got 6 rushing attempts and 1 target. So I don't think that had anything to do. I don't think that had anything to do with him, because also to put some of those concerns away, like we've had Zach Moss look like a superstar while Richardson was on the field, and in that week 4 that I was just talking about, he also did not do well. But I think that Zach Moss had good enough games where you're saying I'm not concerned about Jonathan Taylor with Anthony Richardson at the same time. I think it'll be just fine. I think he's going to be successful there, and he got paid and he's recontract up. So I think we're still in a good spot. Number 4, we have Christian McCaffrey, old as dirt and made our top 4. How is that possible with the feelings that we have at running back itself?
Who is this guy? You got to have anomalies, right? And some will say that's Derrick Henry. Some will say it's Christian McCaffrey. At least we get a little bit younger with McCaffrey. But it's kind of like, prove me wrong. Like, what can you say? Like, at this point, right? He's got to be in your top 5. There's no question about it. Even in Dynasty, where, I think the only reason he's number 4 is because there's so much great potential in our 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. In redraft leagues, I think he's still going to be the first running back off the board across the board. He's proven he can take on all the high usage in the world. He's got a couple of injuries back there, but I think he's going to be great just with the high usage that he has. He played all 17 games, so put your injury concerns away from last year, right? So he played in all of the games. I think he's going to be just fine there, and he's got a great schedule, at least to wrap up the year. So where you're looking at your fantasy playoffs, I think you're going to if there's any like tiebreakers that you need, I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be who you want in those positions. Not that you would draft anyone else above him, unless you want to make some arguments about some of the other 3 guys we're going to talk about. Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about CMC?
Yeah, and I think that's a big piece here of like being okay to break these rules. The rules that we have on running backs and the stats that we look for are to help guide us and to make good decisions, and you have to be okay to break that when a player breaks it. And time again, he's broken it. So he had 67 receptions in 2023. There is one player that we have that we'll talk about soon that puts all of that to shame and actually did better than that. But first, we have one player who also is a great pass catcher. It's 52 receptions last year. But he's younger, so he gets the bump over it. CMC I'm okay with putting here because it can win you some championships if you're the right team, but he's a number 4 for the right team. This guy is the right one for anybody. Jahmyr Gibbs. I am in love with this guy. I really like his talent. I think he's a great piece to hold, and he breaks some of the rules that CMC breaks. I feel like my prediction is that he will, based on the style that he plays. I feel like he'll have a longer career, where at 28 in just 5 years, less than that for Gibbs. But how old is Jahmyr Gibbs? He's got to be like 22. Yeah, he's 22. So at 28 and 6, I think that he'll still be doing his thing and be successful. Again, he had 52 receptions. He's a solid player. He has Montgomery, who is able to score a lot. So let's say we don't have that super running back behind us in a couple of years, then I mean, what can't he get to? And I think this year he could end up number 1 easy. Tell me why you also are drooling at the prospect of someday maybe convincing someone to be stupid and let Gibbs go.
Yeah, I mean, not much I can add there, right? the only reason we have him at 3 and not in these top spots is because Dave Montgomery right now. But like you said, how much longer is that going to go? So explosive. We've seen him do it. He's proven it over and over again. We've seen what he looks like. He's not someone that falls off when he doesn't have that other back there. So people will look at Gibbs and think maybe he's just a pass catcher, but at the end of the day, like he's proven he can do both jobs, and they just have help for him for now. But with that being said, last year he had almost 1,000 yards rushing. Right, he still rushed for over 900 yards last year. So yeah,
and he didn't really get kicked off for a while.
What's that?
He didn't start on fire. It took a while, half the season, to really get into form, and then he still ended with that. He's an absolute beast, and I think it's safe to put him at 3. Anything you want to add before we move to our number 2, 1, and we'll hit them quick. The 2 that we have, because I think it's no secret. Anything to add with Gibbs before we move forward?
No. And I think we just jump right into these guys because, no one's going to fight you on it.
Yeah. All right. So for and this one, I could honestly, I feel like every time I look at this list, I want to switch between 2 and 1. So I feel like it's a very honest tie between 1 and 2. It might be a leftover love affair why I put Bijan Robinson at number 1 and Breece Hall at 2, and you have Breece Hall at 1 and Bijan Robinson at 2. But Breece Hall is the person I was talking about that McCaffrey had 67 receptions in 2023. Breece Hall, do you know how many he had? I don't know if you've looked already or if you have a guess. It's 76.
I've looked already, so it's
76 receptions, 58 for Bijan. So both of them are very heavily involved in that passing game. Neither of them have a really strong competition behind them. And they're superstars that are at that level where you just build an offense around both of them. And I think that in Atlanta, there's more questions. So I think it's fair to put Bijan Robinson number 2, like you did, because there's more questions. Breece Hall did all those things, and he's getting a better quarterback, and he's somebody who's going to catch from him. So maybe I do want to switch it, but is that the main reason why you have him over him?
Yeah, so with Breece Hall, you've got that consistent performance, and we're assuming that his quarterback's going to last more than 4 plays this year.
At least 6.
At least 6 plays, right? But yeah, to your point, like Breece doesn't have that action behind him. Not only did he get the 76 receptions, but he was targeted almost 100 times, right? 95 targets last year. So it's insane to think about. We're still learning what Bijan's going to be within the new offense with Kirk Cousins back there, what that's going to look like. And then he does have Tyler Algier there, right? So they've used, even with Bijan in the fold, they've used Tyler Algier for series at a time, right? So he's got some not that they're going to take away from Bijan and he's not going to be the feature guy, but they are going to give him more breaks, and there's going to be a little bit more sharing of the ball happening there. Not a committee by any means, but Breece just doesn't have that competition behind him, right? So there's like multiple guys that are there that may get 1 or 2 sets of downs, but Breece is going to be in the game. So either way, I think this is more of a tier situation than it is a ranking situation. They're in the same tier, right? Yeah. So call it what it is.
Yeah, but that's I think both. Yeah, those are the top 5. I'm happy with our list. There's some that I think, especially that 6 through 10, go check them out from last week. Tell us where we're wrong. Tell us where we're wrong here. And let's continue that conversation. But again, I just, as a full thank you to everybody who tunes in and listens. And if you made it this far, appreciate y'all. Fantasy football is one of those things that is just it's fun when you can start with Dynasty and have that like year-round camaraderie and connection. So thank you everybody so much for listening, and comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. But it really all those things I just listed off, they make us they keep us motivated to come back another week. So we really appreciate it having that conversation with y'all. Nate, it's been real, man. I'll talk to you
next time. Later, guy.